Correct in time. Correctness is said to be an absolute value, like truth. This statement is true. The problem I see nowadays is that it has no time component, and it's all the difference nowadays. For example, the work speed limit. There's a big sign, work speed limit, 40 miles an hour. You're like, yeah, nobody's working. It's not even that nobody's working. Nobody's been working for a really long period of time. The sign is just wrong, right? Sometimes you say things are wrong because they're just wrong. Like, this street signal is broken. Yeah, it's broken. It's flashing. That's when it's broken. Sometimes things are wrong because it's the wrong time, right? You may make a statement about the world 2,000 years ago. It was true then, but it's not true now. For example, factfulness. The guy talks about poverty. Most of the world is not impoverished anymore. It depends how you find it, but they're not starving. You may think they may be in Africa, but that was 20, 30 years ago. Time. Important to see whether you're correct. We don't think about that enough because, for example, road conditions, right? We all understand, oh, there's traffic now, there's traffic, now, not traffic later. Not the same thing, right? Traffic will clear up by 2 a.m., even in LA. So we know time for certain things, but other things are like, oh, that road is closed. We also understand time for that, but Google doesn't understand. It's very easy to mark a road as closed on Google. Who's going to mark it as open again? Not Google. They don't actually check these things. There are some people in Eastern California, there was, landslides, earthquake, I don't know, whatever. Their roads were closed. And even a year later, people call, oh, I can't make it because Google says the road's closed. They're like, no, don't try, the road's fine. It's been fine for months. They're like, oh, no, I believe Google. Seriously? Right? So that's the thing about correctness. You have to have a time component. You may say, hey, there's a dinosaur here. And I think, oh, yeah. You mean that you have a statue dinosaur. You have a toy dinosaur, or this or that, right? But they may say, well, there's a dinosaur here like 10 million years ago. You're like, okay, I don't think that's what you meant. Because usually when we say there is, we mean now. But I guess there was, same thing to you. I mean, things may change, and certain times we understand, like expiration dates on credit cards, they expire, right? Like a pen, this pen is good. Well, it may be good now, but it may not be good forever, right? I mean, a lot of things have a time component, and most of those things we understand have a time component, but for everything else, we sort of don't understand it has a time component. And that's the funny part, right? Human beings, we understand human beings change. Everybody's gonna not deny that. Personality change a little bit different, but we say this person's nice, right? We mean this person is nice right now, this person is always nice, because this person may be mean sometimes. And that really confuses you. Told me this person's nice. Or for example, with doctors, right? I said this doctor is really good, and the patient's like, oh, I don't know, right? You're like, well, the doctor being really good, I don't know if he's good 100% of the time. Maybe he's not, and he wasn't. But doesn't mean he's not good, because I don't mean he's good all the time. Or do I mean he's good all the time? I would think you understand when I say something that is not necessarily true all the time. Because time is not specified. And if time's not specified, I don't think you could presume it's true all the time, right? And that's the thing with time. We don't specify it. And we say, you have to just accept it, right? I mean, you see this so often on stuff online. You're like, oh, I wish they put a timestamp. A lot of websites don't put a timestamp now on it. They don't say what day it's written. Because Google, if it's old, they'll discard it as not so great information. And now, so some people update it. When they fake update it, they haven't really updated, they'll have a newer timestamp. And so that I hate even more than no timestamp, because you're like, you should have been updated, but this stuff is wrong, right? You wrote about this situation, this pandemic situation, right? Or it's like hours of a place, right? You're like, when were these hours posted? Because I don't think these hours are correct. I just went there, they're closed, right? Could have it been different hours at a different time period? Well, yes, it could have been. I think it probably is. But how do I know what's true if you don't tell me when it's written? Right? Or it could have been written at a certain time and it could have already been outdated. We understand the term outdated to say something that was correct but is not. But do we say facts can be outdated? I would say news is not. We say false facts or blah, blah, blah. But Factfulness says they are. Because our beliefs of facts in other parts of the world are often outdated. They were true 30 years ago. Now they're outdated, which means they're wrong. Time. Think about it. Everything has to have a time association. If it doesn't, you can't just assume it's always true.